Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. My phone buzzed on the coffee table right as Lily nudged closer to Ryan. The screen lit up, her name stretched across the top like a warning. He laughed at something on the TV and never looked down once. She tucked her feet under her, almost pressed into his side now. I already felt that tiny pull in my chest that said pay attention. I'm Jade, 23, and that was the second my night flipped. You know that weird instinct when nothing is technically wrong yet. Everyone looks relaxed, everyone sounds normal, but your body sounds an alarm. I tried to ignore it and force my eyes back to the movie. The buzzing felt louder than the dialogue and my palms went damp. Another vibration hit, a second message stacked under her name. The preview flashed up before the screen dimmed and my stomach clenched. Hope your girlfriend knocks out soon, sat right there in plain text. I stared 1 second too long and felt Ryan glance toward me. I grabbed the remote, turned the volume up, and pretended nothing happened. Bathroom, I muttered, already halfway off the couch without waiting. Ryan reached for my waist like he always did when I moved. Pause it, he asked, fingers brushing my hip like everything was fine. It's okay, keep watching, I said, maybe a little too quick. Lily stretched her legs out, eyes on the screen, lips curved just slightly. Walking down the hall, I could feel their laughter behind me still. It sounded easy, familiar, like I was the guest in my own place. My phone felt heavy in my hand, even though it barely weighed anything. I knew I was about to open something I could not unsee. I still tell myself I could have stopped right there and stayed stupid. I locked the bathroom door and sat on the edge of the tub. The light above the mirror hummed and made everything feel harsher. My thumb shook when I woke the screen, even though no one watched. 2 new texts from Lily waited, stacked right under her contact photo. I opened the thread and my heart started pounding in my ears. The latest message read, "He better like you tired because I'm bored." Right above it, "Hope she falls asleep fast tonight, I swear I'm losing it." For a second I could not breathe, like someone pressed pause on my lungs. I stared at the words, hoping I had misread something crucial and obvious. Nothing changed, the letters just sat there like they owned the truth. My first thought was she must be joking, some dark stupid sister joke. We roast each other sometimes, sure, but this felt off immediately. I scrolled up looking for a punchline, some clear sign I was dramatic. Instead I saw more lines stacked above, times and days I vaguely remembered. Little gaps where I thought she was just being extra friendly with him. Last time was way too short. Couldn't help it, she almost came back early. I keep thinking about your hands on my neck. The messages blurred for a second and I blinked hard. My face felt hot, but my fingers moved faster up the screen. Their thread went back further than I expected, week after week. Short replies from him, longer from her, both way too comfortable. I caught emojis I never saw them use with anyone else, stupid hearts everywhere. The timestamps lined up with nights I remembered as sister bonding or late work. Looking at it now, it felt like reading stage directions to my own humiliation. Then I saw the first hit on my body. She's still wearing that bra that gives her 4 boobs. I froze, thumb hovering above the screen, eyes locked on that line. A little laugh emoji sat after it, the one she used when she gossiped. Below it, his reply hit harder than I admit out loud even now. It's like that or she sags to her stomach. One sentence, no emoji, no softness, just that. Something in my chest cracked, like a quiet snap only I could hear. I knew they noticed my insecurities, of course, I talked about them before. Seeing them used as a private joke felt worse than any mirror moment. I scrolled, hoping that was the worst of it, like maybe it peaked there. Tell her those jeans retired after high school, Lily wrote on another night. You're awful, he answered, followed by, but also kind of right. I remember that night, I had asked him if the jeans looked tight. He kissed my forehead and said they were cute, then texted her this. My hands shook so much I almost dropped the phone in the sink. I set it down for a second and stared at my reflection instead. My eyes were red already, though I had not cried yet, not really. You know that moment when you see your own face and it looks wrong. Like you are looking at the punchline, not the main character anymore. A soft knock hit the door, gentle like he did when we joked. "You okay in there?" Ryan asked, voice muffled through the wood. I slapped the faucet on, splashed water up just to do something. "Yeah, 1 second," I answered, trying to sound bored, not shattered. My tongue felt thick, but my voice came out almost normal, which scared me. I grabbed the phone again and scrolled up higher, chasing answers. Most messages were short, little code words that meant nothing before tonight. Now they fit together, tiny puzzle pieces of time spent without me knowing. Same place tomorrow. Parking lot again. Where that thing I like. My brain filled in the blanks, even as I tried to block them. I wanted one line where he shut it down, something clear. This is wrong, or we need to stop, anything remotely decent. Instead, I saw 10 minutes, and you know I can't say no to you. Every line turned the air heavier, like the bathroom shrank around me. I felt my throat close, but I kept reading, like a masochist on purpose. Another knock, sharper this time. "Jade, seriously, you good?" I pictured them on the couch, him half watching the movie, her watching him. Maybe they were texting each other right now while I sat here. The thought made my stomach twist harder than any of the words did. "I'm fine," I called out a little louder, eyes never leaving the screen. I wiped my face with the back of my wrist, even though no tears fell. My body was doing grief on credit, like it knew what was coming next. I scrolled back down to the recent messages, the ones that started this. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, but I could not type anything yet. Part of me wanted to explode right there, throw the door open fast. March into the living room, shove the phone between their faces, demand answers. Another part whispered that I needed to be sure, painfully sure. Because if I confronted them and somehow got it twisted, I would be crazy. I knew exactly how fast I would be turned into the problem. I tested one tiny thing instead. I opened our group chat, the one with my parents and Lily. I sent a stupid meme and waited, counting numbers in my head to keep calm. My parents reacted first, little hearts, little laughs like always. Lily stayed silent, even though I knew she was on her phone with him. Ryan knocked once more, lighter now, almost patient. "If you're sick, I can grab you something," he offered. His concern felt fake, even if part of it was probably real. That was the worst part, honestly, that mix of genuine and dirty. It made everything harder to throw away, which I think they counted on. "I'll be out," I said, forcing the words through my teeth with effort. I closed the messages and held the phone so tight my knuckles hurt. One thought kept looping. If this was what they joked about in text, what lived in real life? I unlocked the door, took a breath, and stepped back toward the couch. That night I lay next to him and counted his breaths. He scrolled his phone once more, then dropped it on the nightstand. "Too tired to finish the movie," he muttered as he rolled over. Minutes crawled by while his breathing slowed into that heavy rhythm. My eyes stayed open and locked on the closed drawer across the room. I had seen him pull that tablet out 100 times before. Old games, random shows, whatever he used when his phone died. Back then, I never cared what he did on it when I was around. Now every quiet device in the room felt like a loaded weapon. I waited until a soft snore slipped out before I moved. I eased my leg over his, inched toward the side, and slipped away. The floor felt colder than usual, and I almost swore out loud. He shifted once and I froze with one foot halfway down. When he settled again, I held my breath and reached the drawer. My fingers brushed the tablet case and I pulled it out slow. The screen woke with a faint glow and asked for a passcode. For a second I forgot how to think and just stared at the numbers. Then my hands moved on their own and tapped his usual pattern. The lock vanished and a row of apps greeted me like nothing was wrong. Some part of me wished it would reject me so I could walk away. My thumb went straight to the messages icon without any hesitation. His conversations stacked in little rows, names I recognized instantly. Friends, work people, random numbers, all lined up in a neat list. Her name sat higher than I wanted to see, right under mine. I tapped it and felt that weird inner drop again, like a trapdoor. The thread opened halfway down the screen, one recent line from her. "Same time tomorrow," sat there with a heart tucked next to it. His answer sat right under it, "Can't promise she's catching on." My eyes burned, but I kept dragging the page up with jerky swipes. Every move showed more proof that I was months behind them. They had short messages around times I remembered very clearly. Nights I worked late. Nights Lily crashed on the couch after hanging out with us. Nights I thought Ryan looked extra affectionate because he missed me. Reading it felt like watching someone rewrite my schedule by hand. I hit the older messages and started seeing talk about my body again. Does she really th? Ink that crop top is flattering, popped up from her. Her waist disappeared weeks ago, he replied with a little smirking face. I pressed my lips together so hard my jaw hurt more than my heart. It stunned me how easily they pulled me apart like I could not read. Farther up, they ranked women like they were checking boxes at a store. One line from Lily cut through everything, I still think mine looks better. Below that, yours is tighter, hers moves too much, came from him. They did not even need to use my name for me to know who that was. My hand shook over the glass, but I kept scrolling upward anyway. You ever feel your whole self split in two while you stand still? Part of me read every word and logged it like data, ice cold. Another part wanted to smash the tablet and wake him up screaming. The quiet side won because I needed more than a handful of lines. I needed so much evidence that even they would choke on it. When I hit the button for screenshots, my thumb barely hesitated at all. I captured each batch of texts, checked that date stamps stayed visible. I worked downward in sections, like I was cataloging some crime scene. Tap, swipe, the rhythm almost hypnotized me through the pain. By the time I paused, my storage warning flashed and I actually laughed. A low grunt came from the bed, and I killed the sound in a panic. He mumbled something and rolled toward my empty space on the mattress. I stepped backward with the tablet pressed flat against my chest. Bathroom, I whispered, even though he probably could not hear it. Every tiny rustle felt like it might blow the whole thing apart. I slipped into the bathroom and shut the door with a soft click. The light made the screen easier to read, which I hated immediately. I opened the photo gallery and saw my new folder full of their words. Just rows of incriminating screenshots staring back like little windows. I knew if he woke up now and checked here, everything would explode. I opened the share menu and selected my email address from the list. Subject line stayed blank, I did not trust myself to type anything smart. I attached the cluster of images and pressed send without proofreading. The progress bar crawled for a second that felt like an entire year. When the sent notification appeared, I felt a weird, ugly calm settle. There were more conversations though, stuff I had not screenshotted yet. The newest part of the thread pulled me back as soon as I closed gallery. Her face when you touch my leg in front of her is priceless, from Lily. She never notices as much as she thinks she does, from him right underneath. That one made something inside me snap in a cleaner way than the others. I backed out and checked his other chats, because now I did not trust anyone. Most of them were boring, coworkers talking about shifts and rides. A couple flirty comments from some girl whose name I recognized from socials. Nothing came close to the way he spoke with my own sister, though. Their messages had a tone that made those others look almost innocent. On impulse, I clicked his account settings and found a cloud backup toggle. Everything was synced, messages, photos, call logs, all flowing somewhere else. I opened the linked mail app and there it was, his main address logged in. The same one he used on my laptop when he watched videos in the living room. A plan started forming that felt colder than anything I had ever done. I shut the tablet down and slid it back exactly where I found it. He snored once, sharp and short, then settled as I approached the bed. I climbed in slowly and lay on my back staring at the ceiling. My inbox on my own phone now held proof that would not disappear. It felt like sleeping next to a lit fuse and choosing not to move. The next afternoon, I waited until he left for some quick errand. As soon as the door locked, I grabbed my laptop and opened the lid. My hands remembered his password faster than my brain did, which stung. His email popped open and the inbox flooded the screen with threads. I filtered for his cloud notifications and almost felt dizzy at the result. There were multiple backup logs, time-stamped across weeks and months. Each one came with links to fresh message stores and attachments. I clicked one from a date that rang a bell for all the wrong reasons. That was the day Lily came over early while I ran out to pick food. I remember walking in on them, looking a little too startled already. The backup view loaded and their exchange appeared in full, no gaps. Her message above the time I left, meet me in your car before she's back. His answer, 10 minutes, maybe less if she drives slow. Then a string of comments about my body again, this time even more specific. They talked about how I moved during sex like I was an awkward video. I clicked through faster, like ripping a bandage that kept growing. More screenshots went straight from his account into my files. This time I labeled the folders, dates, and little notes for myself. It felt sick to organize it, but the structure helped me stand upright. I needed this to look undeniable to anyone who saw it later. Right in the middle of saving a set, my phone lit up with his name. I stared at the screen for a beat before answering with a steady voice. "Hey babe, you doing anything tonight?" floated through the speaker. He sounded relaxed, maybe even excited, like everything between us stayed normal. While he talked, his open browser showed messages planning Lily's next visit. "Thought we could order in and watch something," he suggested. My mouse hovered over a line where Lily joked about my sweating during sex. "That sounds nice," I answered, which felt like chewing broken glass. He launched into some story about his day that I barely heard. I watched a timestamp instead, matching it to another thread he did not know I saw. When he hung up, another alert popped in the corner of the laptop. New message from Lily, arriving in real time right into this window. I clicked before my brain could argue and watched the words appear. "Don't forget tomorrow, I booked a room this time," she wrote. My chest felt hollow while the cursor blinked for his reply. It arrived seconds later. "Can't stay long but I'll be there," came through. No hesitation, no second thought, just a casual promise to my sister. I leaned back in the chair and let the disgust rise without blocking it. This was no one-night mistake, this was a routine they enjoyed. Another ping, another line from her. "You better, I shaved for you and everything," filled the top of the screen. I laughed, short and humorless, and covered my mouth with my palm. I finally understood that my relationship had been a costume for them. That real intimacy in his life happened in places I did not step. I dragged the newest set of proof into the same hidden folder. Then I transferred everything to an external drive I rarely used. Watching the progress bar move felt like loading a weapon very slowly. Once it finished, I ejected it and tucked it deep in a drawer. If my devices vanished tomorrow, this ugly little archive would survive. My phone buzzed again, this time from our group chat with family. Lily dropped a selfie with some silly caption about sister night soon. Our parents reacted with likes and hearts, clueless about the subtext. I stared at her face on the screen, perfectly relaxed, perfectly polished. All I could see underneath was the message about shaving for my boyfriend. Every part of me wanted to text her something brutal right then. Call her out in the chat, expose her in front of everyone at once. My fingers hovered over the keyboard and typed half a sentence. Then I erased it one character at a time until the bar went empty again. Rage felt good, but I knew timing would matter more than my first impulse. I muted the group conversation and set my phone face down. The laptop sat open with his account still logged in and vulnerable. More lines kept dropping into the inbox from different people. I filtered again and focused only on the thread with her, nothing else. If I wanted any chance at being believed later, this had to be airtight. I picked one screenshot and texted it to Ryan. No explanation, no emojis, just the image sitting there in our chat. My heart thumped hard while I watched the typing bubble flicker. I had hundreds of receipts and chose one tiny piece on purpose. I needed to see what he did with something he could still deny. "What is this supposed to be?" popped up after a long pause. He followed it with, "You mad at me or something?" and a laughing face. I stared at the message where he promised Lily a quick meetup. It sat between their jokes about my body like it belonged there. I typed slow so I did not start screaming through the screen. "Explain it," I wrote, nothing fancy, no extra words to soften it. I watched the dots appear, disappear, then come back again. He called instead of texting, and my fingers clenched around the phone. I answered because I wanted to hear his tone, not his emojis. His first word already tried to sound offended and tender at once. "Babe, seriously, what are you doing?" came through the speaker. There was a little breathy laugh after it that made my skin crawl. "That message with Lily," I said, keeping my voice steady on purpose. "You told her to meet you before I got home, remember?" Silence hit for 3 beats, then he went into performance mode. "She was drunk that night, you know how she gets." He cleared his throat like the whole thing bored him already. "She sent a bunch of weird stuff," I barely even replied. I looked at the screenshot again, at his eager double texts. He was rewriting it live while I stared at his actual words. "That's not drunk rambling, Ryan, that's a plan." My thumb traced the border of the screen while I spoke. "You owe effort or a time and a place, that is clear." He exhaled loud enough for the mic to catch his annoyance. There it was, the moment he chose his route, blame or honesty. "You always do this when you feel insecure." His voice went soft, almost pitying, like I was fragile glass. "You twist everything into some plot because you hate your body." That line landed harder than the cheating for a second. He was using the same flaw they mocked to shut me down. "I hate being lied to," I answered, sharper than before, colder too. "If there's another screenshot, show me all of them right now." I pictured his face, scrolling, checking how much he thought I saw. He had no idea I was holding an entire library already. I could almost hear him calculating which version of events might stick. "You know what, I flirted a little, I admit that." His tone shifted, like confession might win him points for courage. "I was dumb, she was upset about her relationship, we went too far." He rushed the words like he wanted to control the damage himself. Every sentence tried to stop me from asking the next question. "How far?" I asked, because that was the only thing that mattered. He hesitated, and I heard some background noise as if he moved. "Look, we kissed once, it was stupid, it freaked us both out." The lie was neat and tiny, easy enough to swallow if I wanted. The problem was I had receipts from hotels and parking lots. I almost told him that right then, almost blew it open. Instead, I let the silence stretch until he started to squirm. "I'm telling you the truth, you can even ask her," he pushed. The idea that he would throw her in to back up his story hit me. They trusted their combined version more than anything I could prove. "You let her talk about my body like that?" My voice came out low and flat, and it surprised even me. For a second he went quiet again, like he forgot those lines existed. "I never said anything that bad, you know how she jokes." Hearing him use jokes for that made my jaw lock so hard it hurt. "She called me heavy and you agreed," I pressed on, refusing to soften. "You two graded my chest like you were reviewing a product." He made a noise, frustrated, something between a sigh and a scoff. "You always focus on the worst part and ignore everything else." Translation, in his world, I was supposed to ignore reality if it stung. "Are you cheating on me, yes or no?" I forced it out clear, no wiggle room, no little cushions. On his end I heard footsteps and a door shut, he wanted privacy. "No, I am not, do you hear me, no." He stacked the denial with force like repetition could make it true. He switched tactics so fast it made my stomach lurch. "I'm worried about you, honestly this obsession is not healthy." My fingers clenched around the phone until my knuckles ached. He started talking about stress, work, my self-image, anything but himself. It felt like watching someone build a wall right in front of me. I let him finish the speech about trust and forgiveness and moving on. Then I exhaled slow and gave him what he wanted to hear. "Fine, we can talk later, I need space right now." He rushed to sound relieved, eager, so proud of our grown conversation. He had no idea I was only retreating to plan the next hit. The second I hung up, I opened my messages with Lily. Her last text to me was something harmless about a show we watched. My thumb hovered over the paperclip icon and then tapped confidently. I picked the same screenshot I showed him and sent it. This time I added 3 words that came out ice cold. "Want to explain this?" flashed under the image once it delivered. The timestamp glared at me, close to when we were in the same room. I watched the tiny indicator appear as she opened the file. She took longer than he did to respond, which somehow scared me more. I pictured her face doing that innocent thing she practiced since childhood. Wow, you went through his stuff, arrived first with no greeting. No answer, no context, just instant outrage at my search. That's your headline here, I typed, my hands starting to tremble. You two arranging meetups while I'm gone is not the issue. I hit send before I could soften the line and regret it. You're reading way into it, came back after a pause that felt endless. He was venting about you, I told him to talk to you instead. I stared at the screenshot, at the heart next to her comment. Nothing about it sounded like advice, it sounded like foreplay. She was counting on me caring more about loyalty than logic. I sent another one, this time with her jab at my chest. The one where she mocked my bra and he joined in. How is this you helping my relationship exactly? I wrote. The answer came quicker, almost practiced, like she rehearsed this defense. You always hated your body, we joke so you stopped taking it so seriously. Then she twisted the knife with a little extra flourish. You ask me all tea. He time if outfits look okay, remember. You drag your own figure more than anyone else does, Jade. Seeing my own name next to that excuse made me feel nauseous. She was using my trust as a weapon, and she sounded proud. You touched him, Lily, that message is not about fashion. My chest felt tight, but my brain stayed icy focused. You literally wrote, last time was too short under a heart. There was a gap, then she dropped the line I almost expected. You seriously think he'd prefer me over his own girlfriend, she wrote. The shift was fast and mean. You sound unstable right now, this is actually concerning. If you feel that bad about how you look, get some help. I stared at that last sentence until my vision blurred around the edges. She had flipped it so cleanly that I almost started apologizing. Instead, I set the phone down and paced the room. I could feel my pulse in my gums, that weird pounding everywhere. Every part of me wanted to go to her place and drag her outside. Make her say it in front of actual faces, not just bubbles on a screen. I knew how that would end though, with me labeled dramatic and jealous. The group chat with our parents pinged while her messages still sat open. Mom dropped a cheerful note about dinner next weekend, like nothing was wrong. I stared at it, then at Lily's chat, then back again. In a moment of pure spite, I typed a short reply. Actually, I need to talk to you about something serious, I wrote. Mom called within 2 minutes, which almost made me laugh. I took a deep breath and answered, walking to the other side of the room. What is going on, honey? You sound stressed in that message. My throat tightened because this was the part I always hated. The part where I made myself the problem to keep the peace. I found some messages between Ryan and Lily. The words felt heavy, clumsy, like they did not cover enough. They are making plans behind my back and talking about me. There was a pause, just long enough for my anxiety to spike. Then came the sigh that always meant trouble for me, not them. You kids and your phones, everything looks worse in text. She gave a little nervous laugh that did not reach her voice at all. Your sister loves you, your boyfriend loves you, breathe a little. I shut my eyes because I knew the script by heart already. They always preached harmony, as long as I did the bending. I'm not upset about jokes, I'm upset about cheating. I walked to the window, needing something solid to look at. Would you like to see the parts where they rape my body too? She sucked in a sharp breath, not because of them but because of me. To be honest, that sounds like you snooped through things you shouldn't. There it was again, the flip. You have to trust people or you'll push them away. Sometimes men need to talk when they feel criticized at home. I almost dropped the phone hearing her protect him with that nonsense. My rage focused into a cold, bright line instead of messy heat. So if I send you what I saw, will you look at it? My voice came out calm, almost detached, which scared me a little. She hesitated and then changed the subject without even answering. We'll talk when everyone is here, face to face feels better. Translation: in public at a table, where my anger would look ridiculous. By the time we hung up, I knew exactly where I stood. In their version, I snooped, I misunderstood, I blew things up. In my version, I had literal time-tagged proof of betrayal. Guess which story would sound more polite at a family dinner? I dropped my phone on the couch and let it bounce once. A new message flashed from Lily, almost perfectly timed with that call. If you tell mom that nonsense, you know it will destroy her. Do you really want to be the one who ruins every holiday? I stared at that manipulation and felt something in me harden. They were already framing my honesty as violence while they hid actual damage. I'm not the one sneaking around with someone's partner, I wrote back. My thumbs moved faster now, anger finally outrunning my fear. If you are so sure it's nothing, you should not mind me sharing. I waited for the explosion, for insults, for some messy confession. What I got was so calculated it almost impressed me. You always overreact when you feel unattractive, she replied. Ryan told me how sensitive you are about gaining weight. I was trying to boost his confidence so he could be patient with you. There it was, my worst insecurity laid out like a diagnosis. She turned their affair into charity work for my ego. I did not respond because there was nothing left to say right then. Anything I sent would feed her narrative that I was spiraling. My screen filled with typing dots again, then another line arrived. Please drop this before you embarrass yourself, I'm begging you. The fake concern in that sentence almost tasted sour in my mouth. I locked the phone and threw it onto the chair. Then I went to my laptop and pulled up the hidden folder. The files waited quietly, little frozen chunks of truth on a screen. Their messages, their plans, their commentary on my body, all there. For the first time that day, I felt something close to control. Up until that point, I kept hoping one of them would confess. Maybe not the whole thing, but enough that I did not feel insane. They both chose to paint me as unstable instead, which still stung. Looking at the evidence, I realized I was done warning anyone. The next time I brought this up, it would not be a discussion. I spread their messages across my screen like I was laying out weapons. Different days, different hotel reservations, different comments about my body. Every line felt sharp enough to cut, which honestly helped me focus. My hands moved steady while I dragged each file into one clean document. If they wanted to gaslight me, they would have to fight this stack. I arranged it in order, newest to oldest, because I wanted escalation obvious. First the recent hotel talk, then their habit of meeting in parking lots. Below that, the earlier stuff where they joked about how I looked. I did not add any commentary, no captions, just dates and names. Their own words could do all the talking when this went out. Part of me wanted to highlight every insult about my body in red. Circle the worst lines, maybe add arrows and notes like a teacher. I forced myself not to, because I knew they would cry editing. Less of me on the page meant less room to twist the story. I wanted anyone reading to see patterns, not my hurt feelings. When I finished, I read it top to bottom without blinking away. I watched their tone shift from flirty to filthy to practical planning. I saw how often they checked I was out of the way first. It wasn't messy or confused, it was organized and routine. That made my decision feel less like revenge and more like reporting. I exported the file and gave it a boring neutral title. Nothing dramatic, just names and dates like some bland spreadsheet. Then I copied it onto the little drive I used earlier. I also uploaded a version to a fresh private email folder. If one copy vanished, another would still be waiting quietly. Next came the part that actually scared me more than the cheating. Picking who deserved to see this and who might weaponize it. I opened my contacts and scrolled until I hit her fiancé's name. Seeing his face pop up made my stomach roll, but I did not stop. If anyone deserved warning before marrying her, it was him. I started a fresh message and addressed it directly to him. No group thread, no parents, no siblings, just the two of us. My fingers hovered over the subject line for a solid minute. Everything sounded either too dramatic or too weak in my head. In the end, I typed something plain that still made my pulse race. About Lily and Ryan sat in the subject box like a loaded sentence. In the body, I forced myself to stay simple and specific. I'm sending you this because I'd want to know if I were you. These are unedited screenshots from their conversations over the past months. I'm not asking you to fix it, I'm just refusing to hide it. I attached the file and watched the little icon appear below. For a second I hovered over delete like I might chicken out. Then I pictured him standing next to her at some future ceremony. Smiling at the woman who slept with her own sister's partner. That image pushed my thumb down onto the send button. The message left my outbox with a quick little swoop. My heart did the opposite, slow and heavy and stubborn. I leaned back and stared at the screen, waiting for regret. It did not show up, just a weird, shaky calm that felt unfamiliar. One person now had the full truth, and that could not be undone. Then I opened a new message and typed in my parents' address. This one made me pause longer because I already knew their style. They cared about appearances more than confrontation most days. Still, they were part of this, whether they liked it or not. They always preached honesty and family, so I was about to test that. Subject line again, plain and blunt. Information you both should see before our next family dinner. In the body, I kept it short because extra lines would invite lectures. I need you to look at this before we sit down together again. If you want to talk after, I'll answer anything, but I won't hide it. I attached the same document and double-checked the recipient list. No cousins yet, no aunts, no outside audience, just them for now. My finger hovered, that little tremor back in full force. To be honest, this part almost made me feel more exposed than cheating did. I pressed send anyway, because keeping their secret had crushed me enough. Next, I created a group message with a handful of close relatives. The ones who always played peacemakers, who loved both of us. Oddly, if this blew up, I knew there would be talk behind my back. I wanted some people holding the raw evidence, not just gossip. So when the story got passed around, it would have a spine. For them I wrote, sharing this so you understand my side fully. I'm not asking anyone to pick teams, I just won't be called crazy. I attached the file again, the same unedited set, no extras. The more eyes on it, the harder it would be to bury. I hit send and watched my outbox fill with copies like echoes. Only one person remained, and she was the one who started this. I opened my direct thread with Lily and stared at her last message. The one where she pretended concern and told me to drop everything. My jaw clenched so tight it ached, but my hands stayed steady. This wasn't about arguing anymore, this was my final announcement. I started by attaching the document without any extra screenshots. Then I typed one line, the line I'd been building toward all week. Since you like talking about my body so much, enjoy everyone seeing your work. I added nothing else, no emoji, no lol, no soft landing. I pressed send before I could overthink and watched the little bar move. The second it delivered, my chest squeezed so hard I had to stand. I crossed the room and back again, phone still in my hand. My notifications tray began to light up almost immediately. First a delivery confirmation from my email, then another, then two more. Every buzz felt like a door opening that I could never close again. Her typing bubble popped up in our chat so fast it startled me. For a moment it blinked on and off like she could not decide. Then a wall of messages poured in, one after the other. Are you out of your mind? Tell me you didn't send that to him. Jade, answer me right now. I watched them stack without replying, almost detached. Another alert came in from my inbox, this time a reply. Her fiancé. The preview line was just, I got your email. My stomach dropped and then twisted up, but I tapped it open. His message started with, thank you for sending this, I'm so sorry. He wrote that he needed time to process before saying anything else. He asked me to confirm a couple of dates to line things up. Like whether Lily told me certain excuses on those days. Reading his calm, careful words hurt in a different way. I answered with simple confirmations and nothing extra. Yes, she said she was with me that night. Yes, she told me you were out of town here. I finished with, you don't owe me anything, do whatever you need. I imagined him somewhere staring at the same file and shaking. While that exchange happened, my phone kept vibrating in my hand. Lily filled our chat with accusations and demands and half-threats. You just destroyed our entire family over your insecurities. You better fix this before mom sees it. If you don't retract this, I swear you'll regret it. I took a screenshot of her frantic stream of messages. Then I dropped it into the group email I'd already sent my parents. Adding this so you can see how she responds to evidence, I wrote. I did not call her names, I didn't need to at this point. Her own words were doing the heavy lifting all on their own. My parents finally replied as a joint message, which almost never happened. The first line was exactly what I expected and still hated. We wish you had come to us privately instead of sending this around. Then we're heartbroken and confused and don't know what to believe yet. They ended with, let's not do anything drastic until we all talk in person. I stared at that last sentence for a long, slow count. They called my exposure drastic, not the months of betrayal. They worried about reputation more than my actual mental state. I typed and erased several responses that were basically pure rage. Then I settled on something short that let them know I was done begging. I tried to talk one-on-one, you chose not to believe me. This file is the same proof I already referenced on the phone. You don't have to take a side, but you won't call me a liar. I sent it and muted that thread because I was tapped out. I could not handle another guilt trip while my life collapsed. Meanwhile, my personal chat with Lily kept growing like a bad rash. She shifted from angry to pleading to manipulative in seconds. Think about mom's blood pressure. Do you want her in a hospital because of you? We can fix this if you just say you overreacted. She threw my worst fears at me on purpose, and I felt each one land. That little good girl voice in my head almost spoke up again. Then I pictured her with my boyfriend in some hotel she booked, laughing about my chest, my stomach, my clothes while I waited at home. That mental image shut the guilt voice down mid-sentence. I tapped out one final reply and kept it brutally straightforward. I won't lie for you, not to him, not to anyone. Every message in that file came from your phone or his. If you want to protect yourself, start by being honest, not by blaming me. Then I archived the entire thread so I would not see her typing again. Next, I opened Ryan's chat, which had been quiet longer than I expected. It lit up just as I tapped it, like he felt me thinking about him. What did you do? Was his first line, no nickname this time. Then my phone is blowing up, why is your family texting me? He followed that with one more, tell me you didn't drag them into this. I felt a strange calm settle as I typed back to him. I sent them your messages with my sister, all of them. I shared them with the man she's planning to marry too. You both gambled with my sanity, now you can gamble with your reputations. For once I did not soften a single word for his comfort. You're ruining my life over some stupid flirting, came flying back. I actually laughed out loud when I read that, short and sharp. Hotel rooms and regular hookups are not flirting, I answered. Trashing my body with my own sister is not a joke. You did this to yourself, I'm just closing the curtain on your show. He called, of course, because texts no longer gave him enough control. I watched the screen light up and let it ring 3 full times. On the 4th, I hit accept because I wanted to hear the panic. His first words were loud enough that I had to hold the phone away. What is wrong with you, Jade? You're acting like a psycho. That word hit me like an old bruise being poked, but I stayed steady. You cheated, you lied, you turned my insecurities into entertainment. And now that I'm letting the people involved see, I'm the crazy one. He huffed loud and theatrical and tried a different route. You could have just dumped me, you didn't need to humiliate everyone. You weren't planning to confess, I reminded him quietly. You were planning another hotel visit, I saw the reservation. On the other end, silence stretched out long enough to feel satisfying. Then he muttered something under his breath that sounded like a curse. I realized that for the first time, he knew he couldn't spin this. I'm coming over, he announced suddenly, like that would fix things. You're not welcome here, I answered before he finished the sentence. If you show up, I will not open the door, and that's not a threat. It's a boundary I should have had months ago when you started this. The quiet on the line after that felt heavier than any shout. You're throwing away everything we built together over screenshots. I almost choked at the word built coming out of his mouth. You demolished what we built when you slept with my sister repeatedly. I'm just taking the rubble and showing people what it actually is. My voice stayed level, which seemed to unsettle him more than yelling would. He tried one last angle, the one he knew used to work. You really think anyone will want you after this mess? With your body issues and trust problems on display like this. That one still sliced, I won't lie, because it hit the oldest wound. But now it sounded small and cheap next to a folder full of truth. I'd rather be alone than loved by people who hate my body in secret. And anyone who sees that file and still blames me is not my person. I could hear him breathing hard through the speaker, stuck and cornered. Then the call cut abruptly, like he hung up before saying something worse. I stood there in the quiet apartment, phone in my hand, heart pounding. After that, I did something I should have done hours earlier. I went into my settings and blocked both of them for the night. Not forever yet, just enough to get a few hours without their noise. I knew there would be fallout from every direction soon. Right then, I just needed the volume down so I could think. I turned off message previews and placed the phone face down. The silence felt strange, almost too big after all that buzzing. My laptop still sat open with the document staring back at me. Names, dates, plans, insults all lined up in plain black text. For once, the ugliness belonged to them and not to my imagination. I walked to the kitchen and gripped the edge of the counter. My arms trembled now that the adrenaline had somewhere to go. I had just detonated 3 relationships with a handful of clicks. Part of me shook with fear about what would happen next. Another part finally felt like I had stopped betraying myself. I knew I hadn't won anything. This was not that kind of story. There was no neat justice or perfect moral, just scorched connections. But I had done the one thing I promised myself I would do. I refused to carry their secret any longer just to keep peace. From that moment on, whatever fell apart would at least be honest. The banging on my door jolted me upright before my alarm. Short, sharp hits, not the lazy knock Ryan used when he forgot keys. My heart raced because I already knew who else had my address. I pulled on the first hoodie near me and opened the door halfway. Her fiancé stood there, gripping a thick stack of printed pages. His eyes were red but dry, which somehow scared me more. He lifted the papers slightly, like I might forget what they were. "Is this real?" he asked, voice rough, shoulders stiff like concrete. No greeting, no small talk, just that one question between us. I nodded once and felt my throat burn like I swallowed glass. "I only copied what they wrote," I answered, fingers tight on the door. "No edits, no changes, nothing added from me." He dropped his gaze to the top sheet, then back up at me. "Did they ever try to stop?" he asked, almost whispering every word. That question hit me harder than any insult in those messages. "No," I said, because lying here would break something in me. "They just got better at hiding it from everyone else." His jaw clenched and unclenched, like he might say something cruel. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small box. He opened it between us, and the ring caught for just a second. "I was going to bring this over next week," he muttered, looking tired. "She told me she wanted to surprise you when we announced." My stomach twisted at the thought of her hugging me with that ring. He shut the box and shoved it into his pocket like it burned. "Thank you for not letting me find out after the vows," he added. I did not know what to do with gratitude in that moment. "You don't owe me kindness," I told him, words coming out uneven. "You didn't hurt me, I just didn't want you blindsided." He nodded slowly and stepped back toward the hall. "If she reaches out, I'm not answering," he said, almost to himself. He turned and walked away without another word or glance. I watched him until the elevator doors closed around his shoulders. The stack of proof stayed gripped in his hand the entire time. When the door slid shut, I realized my own hands were shaking. I closed my door and leaned my forehead against it, breathing hard. My phone started buzzing again before I even moved from the spot. Group threads, individual chats, unknown numbers all at once. I ignored them until a preview showed my dad's name and Lily's. The message read, "We're coming over, stay home and don't start anything." That last part made me laugh once, short and humorless in the empty room. Not even 10 minutes later, tires screeched outside my building. Voices carried up the stairs before anyone knocked, loud and frantic. 3 quick hits landed on my door, then my mom's voice called my name. I opened up because I wanted this over, not because I felt ready. They filed in without waiting, her behind them, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. My father held his phone like it might bite him at any second. "Explain why my inbox is full of that filth," he demanded, face tight. He sounded embarrassed, more than angry, which told me everything. My mother hovered near the couch, glancing between me and Lily. My sister stayed near the threshold, like stepping farther in would stain her. I shared what they chose to write and send each other, I replied. I pointed at my own phone on the table, screen still dark. I tried talking one-on-one, you wanted proof, now you have all of it. Lily let out a sharp laugh that did not reach her eyes. You hacked his accounts and now you're pretending to be righteous. She stepped closer, jabbing a finger toward the coffee table. This is insane behavior, you need to hear yourself right now. My mom flinched slightly at that word but stayed quiet. My dad scrolled through his phone like he hoped to find a loophole. I watched him land on one of the messages about my body and freeze. He cleared his throat and turned the screen slightly toward Lily. What is this comment about your sister's chest supposed to be? He asked. It was not a protective question, more like he wanted a script. Lily's lips tightened as she searched for an angle. We tease each other about that stuff all the time, she replied quickly. She shifted her focus back to me and widened her eyes. She trashes herself more than any of us do. I was trying to get him to reassure her, that's all this is. My dad looked unconvinced, but years of habit glued his mouth shut. My mom seized the opening like a lifeline tossed in deep water. You know you've always struggled with how you see yourself, my mom started. Her voice softened in that way that usually melted my defenses. Maybe you misread some of these lines through that insecurity. Something snapped in my chest and I stepped closer to her. Did I misread the hotel confirmations with both their names? I asked. The room went quiet enough that I heard someone swallow. I tapped my phone awake and pulled up the compiled file. I flipped to the page with the reservation and held it up. Here's where she booked a room under her card and he replied. Here's the follow-up where they talk about how fast they finished. My mom's face crumpled for half a second before she caught herself. She dragged in a deep breath and looked at Lily. You told me you were at a spa day that weekend, she murmured. Lily rolled her eyes like she had rehearsed this exact accusation. And I needed peace because she was blowing up my phone, she snapped. She swung toward me again, eyes bright, cheeks flushed. You are obsessed with me, with him, with your stupid figure issues. You read everything like it's about how you look instead of reality. That last line hit me because it used words I had used years ago. Hearing them thrown back now felt like a slap from an old version of myself. This is reality, I answered, forcing my voice to stay low. Reality is you sleeping with my partner and mocking my body together. Reality is you trying to make me feel insane when I caught you. For the first time since they entered, my dad looked at me directly. He did not defend me, but he did not defend her either, which mattered. Enough, he said, raising his hand, jaw working. We can argue about intentions until we pass out on this floor. The fact is, those messages exist and they are disgusting. He turned slowly to Lily, like it hurt his neck to do it. Did you have a physical relationship with him, yes or no? Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. I watched every tiny shift, hoping for one honest second. Finally she shrugged, a tiny jerky motion that looked practiced. It happened a few times, we stopped, it wasn't some big affair. My mom made a small choking sound that cut through the air. I stared at her shrug like it was the only real thing in the room. That tiny shoulder twitch just blew up multiple lives, I said quietly. You don't get to minimize it down to a few times now. Lily snapped her head toward me, eyes blazing. You shared that with extended family, who does that to their own blood? The person who got used as a joke and a cover story, I shot back. The person who got told she was delusional for asking questions. Call me cruel if you want, but I won't be your shield anymore. Silence pressed around us, heavy, awkward, full of unsaid stuff. My mom finally broke it, voice trembling but still chasing control. We can work through this privately, she urged, hands lifted slightly. We don't need cousins and outsiders seeing our dirty laundry. I almost laughed because that phrase sounded so mild next to reality. They're not outsiders, they're people who'd hear about this either way. I wanted them to see the truth before they got the polished version. My father rubbed his forehead and stared at the floor. This family needs space, he muttered, sounding older than yesterday. Everyone go home, cool down, we'll regroup when tempers settle. Lily jumped on that word, relief flooding her features too quickly. Exactly, we should not make permanent choices while she's spiraling. I straightened my shoulders and stepped between her and the doorway. Stop calling it a spiral just because I finally stopped covering for you. I am making a permanent choice actually, and you should hear it. 3 sets of eyes landed on me at once, heavy and assessing. My voice shook once, then steadied as I forced the words out. I'm stepping back from both of you for a while, I told my parents. I will answer texts about emergencies, that's it. No more group dinners where I act normal around the two of them. Lily snorted, like I had just announced I was moving to the moon. Please, you'll come crawling back when you get lonely, she scoffed. Lonely used to scare me more than any heartbreak, I won't lie. That day the word just landed and slid off my skin. I'd rather eat takeout alone than sit across from you pretending, I replied. My dad looked like he wanted to argue, then closed his mouth. My mom whispered my name, soft and wounded, but I shook my head. I love you both, I said, and I meant it, which hurt. But I'm not bleeding quietly in the corner anymore to keep things pretty. If you invite me to something that includes her and him, I won't come. If you want to see me one-on-one, I'll consider it. Their expressions told me exactly how unfamiliar my boundaries felt. They left in a tense cluster, voices low and urgent in the hall. Lily threw me one last glare over her shoulder as she passed. You're going to regret this when you're alone with your mirrors, she hissed. I did not answer because I refused to give her another piece of me. The door closed behind them with a heavy final click that echoed. Later that week, I found myself in a small chair facing a stranger. My therapist watched me twist my sleeve while words tumbled out. I know I sound dramatic, I started, already cringing at my own voice. But they turned my body into this running punchline in their relationship. TH. At part will not leave my head, even more than the sex stuff. She nodded once, not in that fake soothing way, just listening. So you trusted both of them with your worst thoughts about yourself, she said. And then they recycled those thoughts as entertainment behind your back. Hearing it laid out like that made my stomach clench. It sounded even more brutal when stripped down that simply. Yeah, I answered, picking at a loose thread on my thigh. I gave them the script for how to hurt me and they followed it. Now every time I look in a mirror, I hear their lines instead of mine. She let a few beats pass, maybe on purpose, before speaking again. What would your line about your body be if they never existed? She asked. The question hit me harder than any lecture about self-love. I opened my mouth and nothing came out for a long second. Finally I managed, strong sometimes, tired a lot, still here. It sounded clumsy and small, but it was mine, not theirs. She smiled, not in a cheesy way, more like she recognized something. We can work on building that voice bigger, she said calmly. Not to erase the pain, just so theirs isn't the loudest anymore. I let out a breath I did not realize I was holding. It was the first time since everything exploded that hope felt possible. Not a big dramatic kind, just a tiny stubborn spark under all the rubble. Over the next few months, life didn't magically smooth out. I had nights where I stared at my reflection and heard old insults. There were mornings I woke up reaching for a phone I'd already blocked. I kept my promise though, no contact with him, limited with her. Every time my chest tightened, I reminded myself why I hit send. At one point my mom texted asking to meet for coffee alone. I sat across from her, hands wrapped around a warm cup. She studied my face like she was checking for cracks. You look thinner, she commented, voice cautious, eyes searching. I almost laughed because of course she started with that. I'm trying to move my body because it calms my brain, I answered. Not because I'm chasing whatever perfect they were grading me against. Her lips pressed together, then loosened again. I still wish you hadn't pulled everyone else into this, she admitted. But I also can't pretend those messages don't make me sick. It wasn't an apology, not really, but it wasn't denial either. Lily says you ruined her life, she added quietly, gaze dropping. I stirred my drink slowly, watching the surface swirl in circles. She did that when she climbed into bed with my boyfriend, I replied. I just turned on the lights so people could see where she was. My mom flinched at the bluntness but didn't argue. She's angry and humiliated and doubling down, she confessed. I don't know how to help either of you without hurting the other. For once, I didn't rush to solve that puzzle for her. I'm not asking you to fix me, I said, surprising both of us. I'm asking you not to frame my honesty as cruelty. If you want dinner with her, go, I won't stop you. But don't expect me to sit next to her like she didn't gut me. She looked at me for a long moment, eyes shiny, jaw tight. That's fair, she finally said, like the word tasted unfamiliar. Weeks later, Lily sent a single text from an unknown number. Happy birthday, it read, followed by, hope you're done punishing everyone. I stared at the message for a full minute, thumb hovering above reply. My old self wanted to open that door with some sarcastic line. The version of me in therapy held the phone over the trash icon instead. I didn't respond, I blocked the new number, then turned my music up. For once, the quiet after blocking someone felt peaceful, not empty. I realized I did not owe her a conversation just because we shared DNA. That thought would have made me feel guilty last year. Now it felt like putting on shoes that finally fit my feet. As for Ryan, he tried one last stunt through a mutual friend. A message popped up asking if I'd meet him for closure. The friend swore he was devastated and wanted to apologize properly. I pictured him sitting there with practiced lines and sad eyes. Then I pictured my therapist asking what I actually needed, not him. I told the friend he can be sorry on his own time, far away from me. If he wants to change, he can start by not using other people as props. Closure for me is not watching him perform regret in front of me. The friend sent a short reply that just said, respect. I ended that chat and blocked any route that led back to him. The file I made still lives in a locked folder on my laptop. For a while, I opened it almost every week, heart racing every time. Not to torture myself, but to remind my brain I hadn't imagined it. These days, I only click it when I feel memories start to blur. I scan a few lines, feel that old sting, then close it before it swallows me. I wish I could tell you I love my body now without flinching. The truth is more complicated and honestly more boring than that. Some days I catch myself in the mirror and think, you look good enough. Other days I hear echoes of them and have to talk myself down. Therapy helped me realize that healing is more like maintenance than a finish line. The last time I saw my sister in person was at a distant cousin's event. She walked in late, alone, hair perfect, expression locked in place. Our eyes met across the room and held for a long second. She looked away first and spent the night orbiting the opposite side. We did not speak, and for once, that silence belonged to me too. Family still whispers, I'm not naive, I know how gatherings work. I catch fragments sometimes, my name paired with words like drama and messy. Then one of the cousins who saw the file gives me a small nod. That tiny gesture says, I remember what they wrote about you. It reminds me I'm not the wild story someone made up for fun. If there's any moral here, it's not pretty or inspirational. I didn't rise above with pure grace, I detonated and then rebuilt slowly. I was petty in drafts I never sent and kind in moments they didn't deserve. I'm not proud of every reaction I had, but I'm proud I stopped hiding. I'm proud I chose myself when staying quiet would have been easier. My sister slept with my partner and mocked my body like a sport. He joined in, enjoyed it, and counted on me doubting my own mind. They wanted me to carry their secret while believing I was the broken one. Instead, I gathered every word, every plan, every jab, and sent it out. I didn't send her revenge in the end, I sent her the truth and walked away.